Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of sci-fi that we've come to hate.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dump a truckload of salt on Star Trek.
Strap in for the long haul.
Oh,
yeah.
so
we're going to talk about
hard.
this, and I think across the board, nobody's really happy with it. I'm so unhappy with it that I didn't even finish it.
Okay. Before we get started on Star Trek Picard, I have a surprise for you guys.
We have another surprise?
You bring up Picard, I'm already
This guy just
clutching
gives me
my
a
chest here. Just like,
Danny, I'm sorry I didn't plan ahead for you.
it's okay, man.
So we've been talking about Star Trek Picard for a long time. And
Oh my god!
Wow.
I got you
In
guys
the world.
T-shirts to celebrate our hatred.
Deserve better. Oh my god, we were talking about that last time I was here.
With an eyeball.
With an eyeball.
Oh my god!
So
Where did you get that?
I made them.
You made
I made them.
Oh, that's
Good.
genius.
So like for the longest time, we've been talking about how we need T-shirts that said "Each have deserved better."
Yeah.
Oh,
That's getting
that's
worn
genius.
too.
I know
If
people
we,
will buy that shirt, myself included. So
We need to wear.
I designed and got these shirts way before they killed off Hugh, and like as we said in the previous episode, Matt was like, "My Each have deserved better shirt keeps
Is
getting
growing.
bigger. So many characters deserve better than the
Everybody,
show."
everybody in that show deserves better. Like once we start talking.
No, keep
about
going.
It.
Go ahead. I haven't watched it, so I'm gonna stay pretty quiet. But I know
You didn't watch the last episode?
I don't. I stopped
Well,
caring.
no,
I watched the episode with 7 of 9, and I was like, this ain't it, man.
Which one?
Well,
She's been in.
She's in it.
The first one where she
okay.
goes to the casino planet and
okay.
murders a bunch of people. I was like, yeah, this ain't my show.
It's so if all of the people on what's the name of that AI planet? It's like
I don't even care. Flower Planet.
Yeah.
The orchids, the orchid planet.
So yeah, so
Space Orchid
all
planet.
of those androids are supposed to be made from data. Okay, so
in what way? Like from their
From
positronic.
from that
positronic
weird
neuron or
positronic
something.
neuron particle
Yeah.
that existed somewhere.
but all of them are basically Data's children in a way.
Okay.
And so by the time you get to the end of this most recent episode, I felt like, I think we had an exchange on Twitter about this, I felt like they just shit all over Data's legacy because they actually end up being evil.
Mhm.
They really are the bad guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, so are you telling me
So the
that if
Romulans were vindicated?
Hold on before we get into this. Okay.
It just seemed to me like Data, they were saying in a way that if Data was alive, Data
He
would have
be-
ended up being a bad guy too.
Okay,
And that bothers me.
let's put the brakes on this for just a second.
Sure.
Okay, so basically we're on episode 9 of Picard. There's one more episode to go. Penultimate episode. And there's a lot of stuff that's been happening in this show that doesn't make any sense. And this episode was kind of like the culmination of what the fuckness when it comes to this series.
I love
Yeah.
there's so much swearing this week.
Yeah.
It is
Hey, if they
terrible.
could swear on Picard.
So me and Matt had like some conversations about this where I would point out stuff and he'd be like, "Holy shit, you're right. I never thought about that."
Yeah.
So Matt, why don't you give us your impression of this latest episode of Picard?
That was just terrible. It's just
And
I don't even.
You're the big Star Trek
Come on,
fan
articulate
here.
a little bit more.
it was just bad. I mean, there's nothing Star Trek about it, really. It's just everything they do breaks things. You know,
we can't. There's a lot of visually. There was a lot. It reminded me a lot of the original series, because like the terrain, the feel, the utopian, the way the people were dressed. To me, like
There's
on that
nothing
planet-
Star Trek about the story.
No, totally, 100%. You know, it feels like they're.
Which seems to be the thing, a going theme I hear a lot of people say is like, visually, it looks great. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh, I love the
But I
visual
mean, everything
story.
looks great visually.
Yeah.
The Last Jedi looked great visually.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it a good movie.
Right. No.
I mean,
Anyway, go ahead,
they
please, Matt.
they lost me. I mean, I just kind of quit paying attention after the giant flowers came up from the planet's surface and swallowed the ships and crashed
Took out
them
a
onto the
fucking
planet.
Borg cube.
Yeah,
Borg
it's
cube
just
didn't do shit. It shows up and you're thinking like, oh my god, that shot, because when it comes out of that whatever the
wormhole?
the conduit.
the transwarp conduit.
It
Yeah,
looks so badass, and you think, yes, the Seven's here with the Borg cube. She's going to wreck shop, and then a couple flowers
come up and rested
Cube doesn't
gently
even get
down.
one shot off. You
See,
know?
like there was like about that whole scene, you know, the flower come up and swallows the Eddie Van Halen guitar
Yeah,
ship, right?
So there's a
And-
global defense system around this secret planet that's in a 8-star system thing that can only be gotten to through subwarp or transwarp wormholes, and they send this global defense system, which are basically space flowers after these
Giant
ships.
giant orchids.
Yeah, and they come up and they swallow the ships that are fighting with each other, and they crash land them on the planet.
within walking distance.
They crashed the Borg. They crashed the Borg ship.
Yeah.
The other ones they brought down kind of gingerly, and there's nothing wrong.
I don't know about that because the ship that had Picard and them on it crashed.
Did it crash?
There's a literal trench of where you can see the ship crash on the planet. So it crashed, but not as
and
it
all,
didn't get destroyed.
All within walking distance of this settlement.
Yeah, so you got this giant 5-mile wide Borg cube. I don't know how big they are, but plus the other ship, and all within like 5 clicks of the compound where all the hippie droids are at, right? And I'm sorry, they lost me with the Borg cube, even because if it had crash landed on the planet within 100 miles of that place, they would have all been eviscerated.
And enough to be like embedded in the ground, like it was.
Yeah. It's just
because like I think they're saying that the flower slowed its descent, so it didn't actually crash, but still it was like even if it had hit a little bit, there would have been like some cratering.
So we have problems with the physics.
It's just everything's just super convenient.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, here's Legolas shows up and it's like, oh, hey, Picard, and hey, what you doing? And then Seven pops out and it's like, oh, hey, what you doing? Blah, blah. It's like it was.
Let me ask you guys this question. So in the Space Vegas episode, basically Maddox goes to this crime boss because he's being chased by the Zhat Vash, and he thinks that they're out to kill him, and he basically got money. For some reason, some people need money now. He got money from this crime boss in order to create his secret lab, where he was able to make Soji and her sister. But when we go to Flower Planet, they have like this whole big utopian lab there. Mm-hmm. So was that the lab he used the money for to create Soji, or was that already there and he left that lab to create a new lab?
I don't know. It seemed to me because how Data's brother, AI Soon, did you notice that? His Artemis Ingenious Soon, so his initials are AI Soon.
Oh, God.
Did you notice that?
No, I did not notice that.
So I thought that was a funny touch. And he's trying to transfer his consciousness. This guy named AI Soong is trying to transfer his consciousness into an android body, and that's what he's getting the doctor that murdered Maddox to help him do. And now, oh my god, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's just so many questions that I have about the show that aren't easily answered, and it frustrates me.
A lot of dots they expect us to connect. So to answer you, I think that he probably did get the money for that because AI Soon was talking about how Maddox was there helping him work on this stuff,
Yeah,
so
but I mean,
unless maybe he thought AI Soon's going a little crazy.
If that lab was so freaking secret and hard to get to, why did he have to leave it if he was worried the Zhat Vash were going to kill him?
Yeah.
Wouldn't leaving that place put him in more danger?
Yeah. And
why go to the person who's a known crime boss who gave you the money that she's going to want to collect on for help? Why not go to Picard, who he programmed into the two androids to go to when they were in trouble?
Because then we wouldn't have a
show. Yeah, then we wouldn't have a show.
It's like that. That's great fodder for like how it should have ended videos or something. So I don't know. My big problems are I wanted better for Picard.
Yeah,
he deserved better because he ends up like this whole story of him now is he's ended up alone, betrayed by the Federation.
He's a doddering fool.
Gave his life work to, and he's just kind of sad.
Yeah,
and it's just so sad.
That scene where he tries to convince all the androids that he can help them by going to Starfleet and making their case. It's like you couldn't even do that for the Romulans.
And Soon says that.
Yeah, and they point out the fact that he's just been a failure for like years. Yeah, and it's so depressing.
It is. I really hate what they've done. Like, I can't believe Patrick Stewart was like, yeah, this is great. This is what I want to do with
That's the thing that gets me is everybody's like, I can't believe the writers of this show just shit on Picard. I'm like, freaking Patrick Stewart was one of the writers.
Yeah, he was like all on board for this.
And that breaks my heart because I'm thinking like Patrick Stewart should be the one who he covets this character.
He did say he didn't want to do any more Picard shows unless they took his character in some new and
no, this was
crazy direction, right?
And you know what the direction is going to be. Picard's going to get his brain downloaded into that golem, that Dr. Soon was going to use for himself, and he's going to be replaced by a younger, cheaper actor.
Yep.
So they can continue doing the show called Picard with like a new Picard.
God, I hope not. I was kind of hoping. I'm kind of leaning toward that they somehow, because they're shooting seasons 2 and 3 back to back at the same time.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, that's what I read. Well, I mean, I don't know about the coronavirus stuff now, but they're supposed to start this summer, and they're shooting seasons 2 and 3 together, like back to back. And I think that somehow in this last episode, maybe they're going to cure him. Like he's like that's kind of what I was thinking might happen before the reveal that they're actually evil. You know, so because like, how are they going to do seasons 2 and 3? If
can we talk about the big twist of episode 9, which was that everything we've been told up to this point has been correct?
Yeah,
that the AIs are evil because they're going to precipitate the wiping out of all organic life, and that the Zhat Vash are completely justified in wanting to kill them all.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because that
Isn't
warning.
that the Borg though?
No. Well, see, the warning. The Borg wants to assimilate.
Yeah.
So they compared it to when Zephyr Cochrane broke the warp barrier and got the Vulcans' attention. So this beacon or warning on that planet with the 8 suns or whatever,
the grief planet,
that's
literally what
that was actually left there to leave a message for the AI, for the androids. Yeah. So once you get to a certain level, no matter what, for thousands of years, all cultures, when AI gets to a certain level, they get scared and they try to kill you. So once it gets to that point, use this beacon, call us, we'll come, we'll wipe out all organic life, and then you can join our federation of AIs. And that's what the actual beacon.
The look on your face.
Look on Alex's face.
So basically, once
he's like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So that means and all these people were made from data, or all these androids were made from data. So it's just like, I don't know. I really. How
does this tie into?
And the weird thing is, like, they are biosynth androids, so they're part biological, biological, and so like, wouldn't they be wiped out too? But like, the whole premise is that organics become jealous of these robotics. They
never grow old
because they never grow old, and they keep evolving, and it's just like wait, what?
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
So I don't know. Like, it's I can't help but watch it. Because but it's so heartbreaking. Like, so like, it sucks. I was talking to you guys before we started recording about how my roommate moved away to be with his family because of coronavirus. But like, he and I, we were so excited. We had people over, to watch the episode with us. I grilled up a bunch of steaks and like, we just had a really good time. We watched the episode, and at the end of it, it was like, we both been like punched in the gut. We were just like, God, this is so sad. This is so depressing.
I mean, the entire
Romulans, who we thought were the bad guys, are actually the good guys the whole time. And
the entire series, I think
an idiot.
I think Red Letter Media said it best, where it's like the entire series was written by someone who only watched the Next Generation movies and didn't quite understand them, because like you have in the previous episode 8, so 7 of 9 or 7, whatever she's called now. She becomes the Borg queen. She hooks into the Borg cube.
Okay.
And her plan is to awaken all the Borg in order to fight off the Romulans who are trying to like basically kill them all. And so she wakes up all the Borg, and the Romulans open the doors and just have the Borg sucked into the vacuum of space and kill them all. And so like hundreds of thousands of Borg just get sucked into space.
Yeah, it was
and but then like, you're sitting there, it's like, but wait, Borg can exist in the vacuum. Like, they don't need oxygen, or they're immune to the temperature change. So like, and plus,
don't they all have like their own little force fields too around their bodies? But that's established in every.
But they don't need air.
Yeah, and the fact that 7 basically was jacked into the cube and could control every aspect of it. Number one, why did she allow the door to be open to like suck all the people out into space? And number two, why didn't she just teleport them back into their little pods after it happened? Because the Borg can do that, right?
Yep.
So like there's a lot of things where it's like, did the writers of the show ever bother to do any research into how Borg operate, like, at all?
They I don't think they did. It's pretty apparent.
Yeah. and like the real question is, so basically you have the Borg artifact, which is the name of the ship that is no longer under Borg control. And you have the Romulans who are doing the Borg Reclamation Project, which I guess is a treaty with the Federation where they've got like this kind of UN of scientists who are coming to not only try to save all the people on this Borg ship who were assimilated and bring them back.
But weren't they butchering them?
No. They were
healing them. They were taking away all the Borg technology to try to.
I don't know if that's actually been determined what they're doing to what end.
Well, they've mentioned that there was a treaty between the Romulans and the Federation to kind of share the research of this Borg cube, and Hugh was there to lead the reclamation project. But the real question is, like, number one, why did Maddox send Soji there? And number two, like, why are the Romulans doing this? Like, was this all just a big setup to lure Maddox out and try to find out where this planet is? Like, it's never really clear. And if it is that, like, it's the most convoluted plot ever conceived.
I want to know if the Zot Vosh chick got assimilated on purpose so she could break the Borg cube with her infinite grief. Sadness.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on.
Wait, what?
So the Borg cube, she got assimilated. That the chick with the crazy hair, right?
Okay. The one who was like, destroy.
Destroy. So she got sucked into the cube, got assimilated. When she got plugged in,
and she was a secret member of the Zot Vosh.
Yeah, when she got plugged in, her memories from the ceremony broke the cube from her utter sadness.
Her depression.
Her depression. So the cube got severed from the collective because they were too sad.
Because they're like, there's too much sadness from the cube. We need to cut it off.
It's the sad cube.
It wasn't just that. Did you see the episode?
Yes.
Well,
that's legit what happened, Alex.
She had a psychotic break because like everybody else killed themselves or ripped their faces off or smashed their heads in with rock, and she had. She didn't have a psychotic break, though, because she eventually recovered and went on to be a researcher on the Romulan ship that got assimilated. Okay.
So she was normal when she was getting assimilated. But because of her visions of what would happen through the Grief Planet ceremony, being assimilated triggered something in her that caused her to remember that stuff as she was being assimilated. Yeah. And so, like, her sadness, her infinite grief over this stuff affected the Borg cube so badly.
You don't think Annika got taken from her parents and turned into a Borg at like 9 years old, had infinite grief? What the?
Oh yeah, it's so dumb.
Yeah, but
that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. But she also saw like the end of all life, not just humanity, but
like Icheb. His parents used him as a biological weapon twice.
Yeah,
you don't think he was sad?
There's a lot that's just. Why couldn't they get what is his name? Steven. The guy did Deep Space Nine.
Ira Stephen Bear.
Yeah, that guy. You know, they should have got somebody like him.
He's too busy doing the Orville.
One of the writers or something.
Yeah, he's too busy making, good Star Trek.
Like my real question, like there's so many things that needed to be set up for this show that just haven't been answered. Like, for instance, what's the state of the Romulan Empire? Because like it's been established that the neutral zone doesn't exist because the two home planets of the Romulan Empire have been destroyed
by a supernova,
and they have refugees all over the galaxy spread out there, and yet they have a fleet of 212 ships that are coming to destroy the flower planet. They have treaties with the Federation to have like a joint research operation on this thing. They have a standing military. It's like, does the Romulan Empire exist or doesn't it? And if it does exist, why are they letting all their refugees just linger on these like terrible planets? If you have 217 ships at your disposal to go destroy the flower planet, why isn't one of them at that one place where they picked up Elnor to protect it from raiders and stuff? Like, why aren't they giving people their supplies? What are they doing? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It's just too convenient. Everything's just made for convenience.
It's not even convenient. It's just confusing.
Yeah, it's just dumb.
It's like they don't know what they're trying what story they're trying to tell. And the damage they've done to the character of Picard, this is not the Picard I know from even the movies.
It's not, and it's just...
They warned us about that, though, because they said it multiple times during their little, press conference stuff.
But
this isn't the Picard you know.
But
sad.
It's like The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker. It's not the same character. Yeah. And it's not even a believable change from what the character was.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that Jean-Luc Picard treats people in this show is borderline insulting. He's had, so like he went to go pick up Elnor because he needed someone who could fight for him, and then every time he Elnor fights for him, he lectures him on not fighting. and he also, the daddy issues that he created with Elnor, like 3 times he's left Elnor to die so far. And each time he's just like, see ya, kid. And like the final time that he's with Elnor in this last episode, he tells him that he's dying. And Elnor's like, I just want to be by your side and help you. And Picard's like, fuck no, you stay here. I don't want anything to do with you. And you're wondering what this character was even doing on the show. And then there's a scene in this episode where Rafi, who has arguably the most connection with Picard in this series, at least,
according to the show,
like she tells him that she loves him, that she cares about him, like not a romantic love, but just like a father figure love. And Picard is so awkward in that moment where he doesn't know what to say. And I would have preferred it if he'd just been like, yes, very good. But instead he's just like, yeah, well, I kind of love you too, I guess. I mean, like, it was very, very awkward and bizarre. And his relationship with Seven, which was never previously established.
Exactly. They never, like, oh, that makes me so mad.
These two characters, I mean, there's a big gap of time that they could have met. But
cool, but like they have this formulaic version. They have this formulaic version of the show where they open up every show with a flashback. I think we even said this last time I was here. It's like, just give us a freaking 2 or 3 minute backstory on how they know each other. You know what I mean? Or like,
something.
Let's in the
some context.
Fuck.
He's not even joking either.
and also, like, there's a lot of stuff in the show.
So my TV shows give me homework now?
Yes. It's exactly what it does.
But there's a lot of stuff in the show where it's like, for instance, Raffi's class warfare stuff, where she's confronting Picard about living in his vineyard with his antique furniture. And Red Letter Media's review was like, well, all of his actual antique furniture burned down in the fire from the Generations, the movie Generations. So all that antique furniture is replicated. So if Raffi wanted fancy antique furniture, she could have just replicated it. Like this whole idea that there's like now money in the Star Trek universe. When
breaks a lot of...
When it's been very clearly established that they've moved beyond money, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And it really is like nobody who wrote this show ever bothered to watch an episode of Star Trek in their life.
It's what the pilot episode for the Star Trek Voyager, there was a scene where Harry Kim is sitting in a bar, and of course he's like the naive new recruit ensign guy, and some Ferengi guy is trying to... It
was Quark's bar.
Yeah, he was trying to get him for some jewels or something like that, and they're fighting over like how much money he's got and how much he's going to give him, and I'm like, I don't know if is there like a rations that the Federation gives out to their cadets or something? I don't know how that all works. So the money aspect of these shows, like if you're in the Federation, you don't have to worry about that. But I'm wondering if it's outside the Federation.
Well, like the whole thing about matter replication. So like when you have unlimited resources, you don't need money because like they're just readily available. You go and you have the replicator create whatever it is you want, and you don't need to pay for it. So the idea was that like, once replication technology became widespread, you could eliminate money. And so people pursued stuff that they were passionate about, and their reward was status or renown or the feeling of accomplishment. And that's how humanity progressed into this idealistic future that Star Trek kind of espouses.
If you did come across some kind of a culture that still had some kind of monetary value,
like
they would just trade, right? Yeah. Like, we've got some dilithium crystal we can trade for you for some
replicator.
A replicator.
Here's translucent aluminum or something like that. Right. Like they would trade technology and ideas and stuff like that. And the Ferengi were kind of because they were so based around such a pure capitalist mentality, they had that gold pressed latinum, which was stuff that could not be replicated. Like they didn't allow it to be replicated.
There's limits to replicators. Yeah. Like they can't replicate weapons and certain materials.
Anything with complex parts.
Yeah.
So
you can't replicate a $2 trillion stimulus package.
It's too soon, bro. Too soon.
but I mean, there were so many problems with this latest episode of Picard that like my brain almost exploded watching it, and I felt genuine rage by the time it was over.
Yeah.
Like genuine like I hated everyone who worked on the show because they're just ruining everything I loved about the character of Picard and the Next Generation.
That's why I have hope for season 2 and 3 because they've hired Marc Bernard.
You should learn not to hope.
It's the only thing keeps me going.
As long as Alex Kurtzman is the one running this ship, I don't think that Star Trek in its current iteration will ever right the ship.
Well, I don't know. But Marc Bernard is a huge fan. His first gig in Hollywood was working for Deep Space Nine. He loves Star Trek. Listen to him talk about get this gig. which he got through Instagram, which I think is great. Somebody messaged him on Instagram and was like, "Hey, if you're not still working, would you like to come work on Picard?" And he was just like, "That's like my dream job."
Yeah.
And so and he's one of those guys who huge Next Generation fan. To him, that's like his Star Trek. He's watched all the episodes tons of times. He's like one of those, like he rival everybody here at this table with his trivia knowledge of TNG. I have hope that he's going to help fix a lot of the stuff, because he's had a lot of the same kind of grievances, because he's the co-host on Fat Man Beyond with Kevin Smith.
Oh, nice.
And so he's already aired a lot of his grievances.
Is that the guy with white hair?
No, he's a black fella. He's kind of like,
Oh, okay. I'll have to watch it. Okay.
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Marc Bernard. I love the guy.
I'll check it out.
And he, so he gives me hope, because he's supposed to.
So he's voiced his grievances with the show as well.
Yeah,
publicly.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So at least we know he's kind of on the same page.
Yeah, but he's going to be one of the writers, so it's not like he's going to be. We'll see how much influence he can have, but because he made jokes about even bringing back Wesley.
As long as Akiva Goldsman and Alex Kurtzman are in charge.
Kurtzman, I don't understand how that guy is still like involved with Star Trek.
So Vader, you and I were kind of talking about stuff regarding the show as well. Like, what were some of your problems with this episode other than the space flowers?
I don't know, man. There was just all the different versions of the androids. It's like, to me, in my head, they should all look somewhat similar. The mind meld was done.
Oh yeah, the robot mind meld.
The mind meld.
So like one of the androids mind melds with Dr. Jurati. And it's just like, wait a minute, that's not how mind melding works.
I know, that really, really pissed me off. That really pissed me off, because I'm like, you can study, like the excuse they gave was like she was such a great student of Vulcan culture and history, but like now this android can do mind melds like that. To me, that was another thing.
I don't think you know who we're talking about, right? So there's an android that's on the show. She's the model prior to Sochi and Dodge.
Yeah, her name looks
just like her, but datafied.
Be like their mom. She's all gold,
yellow skin, gold
Data's
skin,
eyes.
Okay. Yellow eyes.
She goes up to the doctor chick,
the blonde
right?
chick, right?
Jurati.
And
Dr.
full on mind melds her. Your mind to my mind. Blah blah blah.
And we're like, this is how she gets
whoa.
exposed to the Grief Planet's message.
Yes.
And because she's an android, she can understand the full message. And it's basically everything we've been told is right. You need to destroy all organics.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's very strange.
And she does something heinously evil to set things in motion. So they capture. We're going into spoilers, right?
We've been spoiling the whole thing. Yeah.
So she captures that little hamster-looking Romulan dude that seduced Sochi. I forget his name. Narek. So they capture him, right? And this. What's her name? The gold Soji.
Gold Soji.
Yeah, sure. We'll just call her that. Sutra. So Sutra is, like lets him go and kills. She kills one of her fellow android people to frame him. To frame him, so they can say, "See, humans are bad."
And she kills the android by stabbing her in the eye with a Blue Jay brooch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait a minute.
Androids are like super durable and strong and can withstand pretty much anything.
Yeah. It's like, couldn't they just repair the android that got stabbed? like, why is she dead?
Yeah. So it's just yeah.
I think we just broke Alex.
Yeah. It's just.
I don't want to watch this show. I stopped wanting to, and I'm like,
and the moment that Brent Spiner showed up in this episode, where he just shows up and he's like, "I know what you're thinking," and I'm like, "No, you don't."
Hey, I'm Brent Spiner,
and he introduces himself. He doesn't totally bears it like mad scientist, and then by the end of it, he ends up like, oh yeah, he is a bad guy. But because he introduces himself like.
But like the reason Dr. Soon created Data and Lore and all these androids was because he couldn't have children.
Yeah, and
so he looked at these at the androids as his children.
Oh yeah.
Then so Brent Spiner shows up and he's like, "I'm Dr. Song's son." AI Song, and
Artemis Ingenious Song, something like that.
And he's like, my father had me the same time he was creating Data. And that's a way
That's not a thing.
And that's a way to explain like why he's like he would be Data's same age at this point, only older. And it's not clear whether or not he's like actually Song's son or if he's like another android and like a bio
he's got to be
like a Terminator.
He's trying to transfer his consciousness into that other droid. So I feel like
God, how many plot lines does this show have?
He might think he's human, but like
kind of like the mom.
Yeah, but like if he was one of the first biosynthetic hybrids, because like they have to eat, they have to sleep, and do all this stuff, they might age.
I just watched that episode recently with Data's mom. Remember that where Sung made a wife and she was the first bio android. Do you remember that episode?
No, I don't.
The older lady. It's like they find out because she falls down and she like breaks an arm or something like that. But then like it knocks her out, and then Data gets the message from his dad saying she doesn't know she's an android. Please don't tell her. Let her live out her life.
Also, we got another iconic F-bomb in episode 9.
Yeah,
where the admiral, the sheer fucking hubris admiral,
F-bomb.
Admiral F-bomb does it again, strikes again.
Yeah, so like they make it a big point that she told Picard to shut the fuck up, and it was almost like something where it's like, yeah, the audience has been waiting for like 30 years to have someone tell Picard to shut the fuck up, and we're finally going to do it. And so like she does it, and you're just like, why is she telling Picard to like he's asking for the Federation's help to keep a species from being wiped out? You know,
I think I'm going to my favorite.
Wait, who said that?
Admiral sheer fucking hubris.
We've been waiting to see somebody say that to Picard.
No, nobody said that, but it felt like the writers thought that. Because they made such a big deal out of building up to her saying "shut the fuck up," and you're just like, why is everyone like shitting on Picard? They're being so disrespectful to this guy, and you know she's got like her plastic surgery face, the actress, and like she looks perpetually surprised, like her eyes are always like super wide, and she's just like, "Shut the fuck up." And me and Matt joked that like she looks like Nancy Pelosi plastic surgery, so we call her Space Pelosi, telling Picard to shut the fuck up.
I like Admiral F-bomb.
Yeah, Admiral F-bomb.
That's a good one.
All right, we're freaking sitting on 2 hours now for this podcast. So final thoughts on Picard. That's pretty negative, right, on your end? Just
super negative. Can't wait for it to be over.
I mean, I can't help but watch it, and it's just. Yeah, it's depressing. I wouldn't even like. It's just sad and depressing. It makes me sad.
I'm looking forward to being depressed when this is over, and then to getting more depressed when Discovery season 3 starts.
I was going to wonder, like, is this somehow going to try and set up Discovery?
I very much think they're tying into each other.
So, like, Discovery is going to have to fight this android militant.
Well, they
army.
already have control. So, like, my theory is that the control is what started the AI Federation that's sending the beacon. That's kind of because they've been sent so far into the future now that time travel's involved, and it's supposed to be the most advanced form of AI, and it can basically possess humans with the nanotechnology.
Yeah. And the events of Picard could be what's setting the stage for the fall of the Federation, because when Discovery starts in season 3, they're so far into the future that the Federation doesn't exist anymore.
Well, no, it has 13 planets left in it. Is what
the downfall of the Federation.
Yeah, so they have to try and it's up to Michael Burnham to rebuild.
And it's all coming from the same production studio. What's it called?
Secret Hideout.
No, but Bad Robot. Yeah, Bad Robot's still involved. So I think they're all going to be linked. Yeah, and I'm just not. I'm not thrilled with it.
How long is this age of Star Trek going to take? Just give me a Pike. Captain Pike.
That's coming.
That's coming.
Is it coming? That's official?
That is official. Yeah, finally. So that'll be good. Marc Bernard and I spilled the beans on that on the Fat Man Beyond podcast. So.
Just make sure that we get some good writers in that one, because I really like Anson Mount.
No, he was the best part of season 2.
Absolutely.
And that scene where he sees himself in the future from the cage, and he still moves forward, and he still like he knows like
it doesn't matter.
Shit's going to end bad for me, but it doesn't matter. You know? Like those are the kind of characters I like in Star Trek. That's why it's so aggravating to me that they've turned Picard into this just pathetic old sad man who ended up alone, and it just fucking disgraced, sucks, man. Yeah, disgraced, alone. Nobody cares about him. They think he's crazy. It's like maybe that's not how his story should have ended, man.
Maybe in season 3, Beverly Crusher will come along and they'll go live happily ever after.
I hope so. I've been watching a lot of TNG, and I watched that episode where they were linked where they were kidnapped, and they were linked together with the thing in their neck, and it came, like they almost will they, won't they? And then by the end of it, Picard's like, well, now that we know these feelings, why don't we pursue them? And then she shuts him down, walks out the door, does the sign, the episode's over, and then they never pull on that thread again.
Nope.
It's like, God damn, man. Like, I really wanted them to end up together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would have been nice.
Yeah. But,
to actually give the fans what they want.
I know, right?
Can't do that.
Yeah.
Fuck the fans.
Can't do that.
Well, then they get a bunch of people like us bitching about it, and people will tune in. And it's like no bad, no publicity is bad publicity, or whatever.
All any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah. So.
All right, Kadish, that's a super negative on your end for Picard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a completionist, so I'm gonna keep watching this and Discovery, but I'm very disappointed with the writers of the show, in particular Michael Chabon. I expected more from him.
Well, he's leaving, isn't he?
Well, he's already left.
Yeah, he's already left,
but still, like, like I was hoping that because he's such a good novelist that this would translate to a good TV show, and it just hasn't. It's been insulting. And I think anyone who actually likes this show isn't a true Star Trek fan. I'm just going to put that out there.
Wow.
No, I would
lay the gauntlet down.
Well, I mean, I have to agree with him. I mean, like this is
like if you're making excuses as to why this show is good, you don't know what good Star Trek is.
Nope. Yeah, it's not Star Trek at all. It's formulaic. It's catering to this new negative.
You're not a real fan of the series that came before it. You're just someone who consumes and just wants more stuff to consume, and you don't bother to turn your brain on at all. And it's just like any self-respecting Star Trek fan would be insulted by this series.
I'm really curious to see, because assuming that the convention doesn't get canceled because of this stupid coronavirus thing.
I'm sure it will.
If we get to,
it's far enough out.
It's far enough.
Yeah, it's
out.
in like June or July.
August.
August. Oh, yeah.
August,
We'll be back together by then. I'm curious to see how the fandom reacts to the Picard series, because I mean, when I was there last year and they did the whole panel with all, the upcoming show Picard, everybody's looking forward to Picard. The place was packed. I mean, everybody wanted to see Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes, and everybody was super excited to see Jerry Ryan back on stage with all of them. So it's like, I don't know. It's going to be weird. We are all going to wear that shirt.
This is the legacy of Picard.
Each have deserved better.
Right here.
Yeah.
Salt.
Totally.
Salt.
Salt.
Salt.